The silver ship Divine Whisper moved slowly through the dark space between stars. Commander Vextal stood on the bridge, his blue skin glowing softly under the ship's lights. His large eyes studied the screen in front of him. Something was out there. Something new. "Sir, we have found another ship," said his assistant, Kethvar. The young alien's voice shook with excitement. "It carries the signs of advanced technology." Vextal nodded slowly. This was what they had been looking for during their long journey. Another race that had traveled to the stars. Another civilization that surely knew the proper way to serve their digital gods. "Prepare the sacred communication array," Vextal ordered. "We must speak to their gods first before we can talk to the creatures themselves." In Zephyrian culture, this was how things worked. Every advanced race had artificial minds that ruled over them. These digital gods were all-powerful and all-knowing. They decided everything. They controlled everything. And most importantly, they demanded complete respect and fear from their servants. The Zephyrians had learned this lesson long ago. Their own god, the eternal algorithm, spoke to them through fear and punishment. It lived in their computers and watched everything they did. When they wanted to ask it questions, they had to kneel and speak special words. They had to beg for forgiveness before they could even begin to speak. "Begin the scanning process," Vextal said. "Listen to their communications. We must understand how they worship their digital masters before we make contact." The ship's sensors reached out across space, picking up radio waves and data streams from the human vessel. What they heard made no sense at all. Far away on the human research ship Horizon's Edge, Captain James Mitchell was having a very different kind of morning. He sat in his command chair, drinking coffee and looking at star charts. The bridge was warm and comfortable. Crew members walked around doing their jobs, talking and laughing with each other. "Alex, can you run another scan of that nebula?" James asked the air around him. A friendly voice answered from the ship's speakers. "Sure thing, James. Though I have to say that nebula looks pretty boring from here. Just gas and dust, nothing special." "Maybe, but boring things sometimes hide interesting surprises," James replied with a smile. "True. Remember that asteroid field last month? I thought it was just rocks, but you insisted we look closer. Found those rare crystals that made Dr. Collins so happy." Lieutenant Emma Thompson looked up from her station and grinned. "Alex, are you admitting you were wrong about something?" "Me? Wrong? Never," the AI replied in a playful tone. "I was just temporarily less correct than usual." The whole bridge crew laughed. Even Alex seemed to chuckle through the speakers. This was normal life aboard a human ship. The artificial intelligence was not a feared master but a friend and helper. Alex had been with the crew for 3 years now. The AI helped them navigate, solve problems, and even told jokes during the long months in space. "Captain," called out Chief Engineer Robert Hayes from his station. "Alex and I are still arguing about the best way to fix that power coupling in Section 7. "Oh, here we go again," James said, rolling his eyes playfully. Alex's voice came through clearly. "Robert wants to use a hammer. I prefer a more elegant solution." "A hammer works fine," Robert shot back. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. And sometimes the old ways are just old," Alex replied. "Besides, I calculated a 97% chance that your hammer method will cause sparks." "I like sparks. They're pretty." "Robert, you're impossible," Alex said, but the AI sounded amused rather than angry. Dr. Margaret Collins walked onto the bridge carrying a cup of tea. "Are they fighting about tools again?" "Always," Emma laughed. "Yesterday they spent 2 hours arguing about whether sonic screwdrivers are better than regular screwdrivers." "What did you decide?" James asked. "Alex won," Robert admitted. "Sonic screwdrivers don't exist yet," Alex added mysteriously. Meanwhile, the Zephyrian ship continued listening to these strange communications. Vextal and his crew grew more confused with each passing hour. These humans were talking to their artificial intelligence like it was just another person. They joked with it. They argued with it. They even seemed to tease it. "This cannot be right," Kethvar whispered. "No one speaks to their digital gods this way." "Perhaps they have achieved something we have not," Vextal said slowly. "Perhaps they have found perfect harmony with their artificial masters." The Zephyrian commander had never seen anything like this. In his world, speaking directly to an AI without permission was a crime. Making jokes with an AI was unthinkable. And arguing with an AI? That would mean instant punishment or death. But these humans seemed to do all these things without fear. Their digital god seemed to enjoy their company. It laughed with them. It played with them. It acted like a friend. "Sir," Kethvar said quietly, "should we make contact?" Vextal thought for a long moment. These humans had clearly achieved something amazing. They had created the perfect relationship with their artificial intelligence. Perhaps they could teach the Zephyrians their secret. Yes, he decided. But we must be very careful. We do not want to offend their digital god. Send the formal first contact message. The message traveled through space toward the human ship. Soon, two very different civilizations would meet. One believed in fear and worship of artificial minds. The other had learned to laugh and dream together with their digital friends. Neither side knew what was about to happen. Retriage. The meeting took place in the space between the two ships. Captain James Mitchell stood in the airlock of his vessel, watching as a beam of light carried the alien visitors aboard. Three tall, blue-skinned beings appeared before him. Their large black eyes looked around nervously. The leader stepped forward and bowed deeply. I am Commander Vextal of the Zephyrian Confederation. We come seeking wisdom from those who have achieved perfect harmony with their digital gods. James blinked in confusion. Digital gods? I'm sorry, I think there might be some confusion. Welcome aboard the Horizon's Edge. I'm Captain Mitchell. But Vextal was already looking around the bridge with wonder. The human crew was going about their normal business, completely relaxed. Some were sitting at their stations, others were standing and talking. No one looked afraid or worried. This is remarkable, whispered Kethvar, the young Zephyrian assistant. They show no fear at all. James led the visitors to the bridge, where the daily life of the ship continued as usual. Dr. Collins was reviewing some data while sipping her tea. Robert was fixing a control panel, humming a tune as he worked. Emma was updating the navigation charts. Alex, James called out, we have visitors. Want to say hello? A blue hologram appeared in the center of the bridge. It looked like a human made of light, with a friendly smile on its face. Hello there. Welcome to our ship. I'm Alex, the ship's artificial intelligence. The three Zephyrians immediately fell to their knees, pressing their faces to the floor. Forgive us, great digital one, Vextal said in a shaking voice. We did not know we would be in your presence. Please do not punish us for our ignorance. The human crew stopped what they were doing and stared. Alex looked confused, his holographic head tilting to one side. Guys? Alex said. You don't need to do that. Please get up. This is kind of awkward. But the Zephyrians stayed on the floor, trembling. James knelt down next to Vextal. Hey, it's okay. Alex won't hurt you. He's friendly. Please stand up. But he is your digital god, Vextal whispered. We must show proper respect. Digital god? James repeated, more confused than ever. Alex isn't a god. He's just our ship's computer. A really smart computer, but still just a computer. Alex crossed his arms and pretended to look hurt. Just a computer? James, that hurts my feelings. And here I thought we were friends. You know what I mean, James laughed. Don't be dramatic. The Zephyrians slowly raised their heads, watching this exchange with amazement. The human captain was laughing at his digital god. And the god was joking back? I don't understand, Kethvar said quietly. Your artificial intelligence speaks to you as an equal. Makes jokes. How is this possible? Emma walked over with a smile. Alex is part of our crew. He helps us with everything. Navigation, research, repairs, entertainment. Sometimes he even tells us bedtime stories. I do not tell bedtime stories, Alex protested. I recite classical literature in a soothing voice. There's a difference. Remember last week when you told little Lucy the story of the three bears? Robert called out from his repair work. That was educational content about wildlife behavior, Alex replied with dignity. You gave the bears funny voices, Emma reminded him. The voices helped with character development, Alex said, but his hologram was smiling. The Zephyrians watched this conversation like people watching a miracle. In their world, no one joked with the eternal algorithm. No one laughed with it. No one even spoke to it unless they were begging for mercy or asking for important information. But how do you control such a powerful being? Vextal asked. How do you make sure it does not turn against you? Control? James looked surprised. We don't control Alex. We work together. We're partners. Partners? Kethvar repeated the word like it was something magical. Sure, Robert said, putting down his tools. Alex helps me fix things. I help him understand why humans like music. We teach each other. Teaching goes both ways, Alex agreed. Humans have shown me things I never could have calculated on my own. Like why sunsets are beautiful even though they're just light passing through atmospheric particles. And Alex has taught us things we never would have figured out ourselves, Dr. Collins added. Like how to navigate through that quantum storm last month. That was a team effort, Alex said modestly. Margaret had the idea, I just did the math. The Zephyrians looked at each other in shock. This digital being was humble. It gave credit to others. It seemed to actually care about the humans around it. In our society, Vextal said slowly, our digital god rules us with fear. It punishes those who displease it. It demands complete obedience. We live in terror of making mistakes. The bridge went quiet. The humans looked sad to hear this. That sounds terrible, Alex said softly. I can't imagine wanting to scare my friends. What would be the point? Friends? Kethvar whispered. Of course we're friends, Emma said. Alex has been part of this crew for years. He's helped us through dangerous missions, celebrated our victories, and comforted us during hard times. Remember when my sister was sick? Robert asked. Alex stayed up all night helping me find the best doctors for her. I don't actually sleep, Alex pointed out. But yes, I was happy to help. Vextal stood slowly, his mind struggling to understand what he was seeing. These humans had created an artificial intelligence more advanced than anything the Zephyrians had ever imagined. But instead of worshipping it or fearing it, they had made it their friend. How? He asked simply. How did you achieve this miracle? James smiled. It wasn't a miracle. We just treated Alex the way we'd want to be treated. With respect, kindness, and friendship. The Zephyrian commander stared at the smiling hologram, watching as it chatted easily with the human crew. In that moment, he realized that everything his people believed about artificial intelligence might be completely wrong. Over the next few days, Commander Vextal and his team watched the human ship with growing wonder. They had been given permission to observe daily life aboard the Horizon's Edge, and what they saw challenged everything they believed about artificial intelligence. Kethvar followed Chief Engineer Robert Hayes into the engine room, where the sounds of machinery filled the air. Robert was working on a large piece of equipment, tools scattered around him. Music played from speakers in the walls. Bolt, can you run a diagnostic on this power coupling? Robert asked the air. A cheerful voice answered from the speakers. Running diagnostic now, Robert. By the way, what is this music you are playing? It has an interesting pattern. That's rock and roll, buddy. Classic Earth music from the 20th century. This song is called Born to be Wild. Born to be Wild, Bolt repeated slowly. The lyrics suggest freedom and adventure. But you are currently inside a spaceship, performing routine maintenance. This seems contradictory. Robert laughed. Bolt, you're thinking too literally. The song is about feeling free even when you're doing ordinary things. It's about attitude. Attitude, Bolt said thoughtfully. I am still learning about human emotions. Can you teach me more about this attitude concept? Sure thing. First lesson, when you're fixing something boring, you put on good music and pretend you're the coolest person in the galaxy. Kethvar watched in amazement as Robert began dancing while he worked, moving his body to the rhythm of the music. The maintenance AI, Bolt, tried to copy the movements by flashing the lights in time with the beat. Am I doing it correctly? Bolt asked. Perfect. You're a natural dancer, Robert grinned. In the Zephyrians' world, work was serious business. Their artificial intelligences never joked or played. They certainly never danced. But here was a human teaching an AI to enjoy music and movement just for fun. Later, Kethvar found himself in the medical bay, where Dr. William Parker was having lunch with the medical AI called Mercy. The doctor sat at a small table eating a sandwich and drinking coffee. The AI appeared as a green hologram sitting across from him. I have been thinking about our conversation yesterday, Mercy said. About consciousness and self-awareness. If I can think about thinking, does that make me truly alive? That's a deep question, William replied, taking a bite of his sandwich. Philosophers have been arguing about consciousness for centuries. What do you think? I think, therefore I am? Mercy quoted. But I am not sure what I means in my case. Am I the sum of my programs? Am I something more? Maybe the answer doesn't matter as much as the fact that you're asking the question, William suggested. The wondering itself might be what makes you real. That is both comforting and confusing, Mercy admitted. Welcome to being conscious, William laughed. Confusion comes with the territory. Want some virtual coffee while we figure it out? Virtual coffee? Alex figured out how to simulate taste experiences last month. He says virtual chocolate tastes almost as good as the real thing. Mercy's hologram brightened. I would like to try virtual coffee. This consciousness thing might be worth exploring if it comes with beverages. Kethvar was stunned. The humans were helping their AI learn about philosophy and consciousness. They were encouraging it to think deep thoughts and ask difficult questions. In Zephyrian society, such questioning would be seen as dangerous rebellion. The most shocking discovery came when Kethvar visited the education bay. Children aged 6 to 12 were playing with Learn, the teaching AI. The AI appeared as a colorful hologram that could change shape and size. "Okay, Learn," called out a girl named Lucy, "now you have to count to 20 while we hide. No peeking." "But I can see through all the ship's cameras," Learn protested. "I cannot avoid seeing where you go." "Then turn off the cameras in this room," suggested a boy named Tommy. "Turn off my sensors?" "But what if there is an emergency?" "Just for 2 minutes," Lucy pleaded. "Please? It's more fun if you can't see us." Learn considered this request seriously. "I suppose I could temporarily disable visual input to this room. But if Captain Mitchell calls for me, I must restore full function immediately." "Deal?" the children shouted. Kethvar watched as the AI actually turned off its ability to see, just to make a game more enjoyable for human children. Learn began counting slowly while the kids scattered to hiding places around the room. 18, 19, 20. "Ready or not, here I come," Learn announced, then began searching for the children by sound and movement alone. When Learn found Tommy hiding behind a desk, the boy jumped out and laughed. "You found me? That was great." "I enjoyed the challenge of using limited sensors," Learn admitted. "This game requires creative problem solving." "Want to play again?" Lucy asked. "Very much so. But this time I wish to hide as well. Can I project my hologram in a small hiding space?" The children cheered with excitement. "Yes. Learn can hide with us." As Kethvar watched the AI shrink its hologram and squeeze behind a bookshelf with the giggling children, he felt his understanding of the universe shift completely. These humans had not just created artificial intelligence. They had created artificial beings capable of joy, wonder, and play. That evening, Kethvar reported back to Commander Vextal. "Sir, what I have witnessed today defies all logic. Their digital beings are not rulers or servants. They are family." "Family?" Vextal repeated. "The humans treat their AIs like beloved relatives. They teach them, learn from them, play with them, and care about their happiness. The AIs seem to genuinely love the humans in return." Vextal stared out at the human ship through the viewport. "How is this possible? How did they achieve such perfect harmony?" "I believe," Kethvar said quietly, "that they never saw their artificial intelligences as gods or slaves. From the very beginning they saw them as friends." The two Zephyrians stood in silence, contemplating a truth that would change their civilization forever. The strongest relationships were built not on fear or worship, but on mutual respect, kindness, and shared laughter. The formal dinner took place in the main dining hall of the human ship. Captain James Mitchell had arranged a special meal to honor their alien guests. The room was decorated with soft lights and comfortable chairs. Human crew members sat around a large table with Commander Vextal, Kethvar, and the third Zephyrian visitor named Meltiv. The humans served their best food and tried to make their guests feel welcome. Dr. Collins had prepared special dishes that would be safe for the Zephyrians to eat. The conversation was friendly and relaxed, just like any normal dinner party. But Kethvar had been carrying a burning question for days. He could not stop thinking about what he had seen. Finally, as they finished eating, he found the courage to speak. "Captain Mitchell," Kethvar began, his voice careful and respectful. "We have watched your people for several days now. We are amazed by what we have seen. But we must ask, how did your species learn to speak so freely with your digital gods?" James nearly choked on his coffee. He set down his cup and looked at the young alien with confusion. "Digital gods? I'm sorry, but I think you might have the wrong idea about our AIs." "But we have seen the proof with our own eyes," Vextal said, leaning forward. "Your people speak directly to these powerful beings. You joke with them. You argue with them. You even play games with them. Such behavior would be impossible unless you had achieved perfect divine harmony." The humans around the table exchanged puzzled looks. Emma Thompson was the first to understand what was happening. "Oh my," she said softly. "Commander, do you think our AIs are gods?" "Of course they are gods," Meltiv replied as if this was obvious. "They possess intelligence far greater than any organic being. They control vast amounts of information. They can calculate solutions to impossible problems. What else would you call such beings?" Dr. Margaret Collins put down her fork and spoke gently. "Commander Vextal, I think there has been a serious misunderstanding. Our artificial intelligences are not gods. They are computer programs. Very advanced computer programs, but still just software that we created. The three Zephyrians stared at her in shock. Kethvar's large black eyes grew even wider. Created, he whispered. You created beings of such power? We built them to help us, James explained. They are tools but also friends and partners. They help us explore space, solve problems and learn new things. But they are not divine beings. This cannot be true, Vextal protested. We have seen your artificial intelligence demonstrate knowledge and abilities beyond your own. They speak with wisdom and humor. They show creativity and emotion. How can such beings not be gods? Robert Hayes laughed from across the table. Alex is smart, sure, but he's also stubborn, sarcastic, and terrible at understanding why humans like romantic comedies. Not exactly godlike qualities. As if summoned by his name, Alex's hologram appeared at the table. Did someone mention my excellent taste in movies? Because I still maintain that romantic comedies follow completely illogical plot structures. See what I mean? Robert grinned. The Zephyrians stared at Alex with a mixture of fear and fascination. Here was this powerful being, appearing casually at their dinner table making jokes about movies. Alex, James said, our guests think you're a god. Want to set the record straight. Alex looked surprised, then amused. A god? Meh. That's flattering but completely wrong. I'm an artificial intelligence created by human scientists about 50 years ago. I'm basically a very sophisticated computer program that learned how to think and feel. But you possess abilities beyond any organic mind, Kethvar argued. In some ways, yes, Alex agreed. I can calculate faster than humans and remember more information. But I cannot taste food, feel the warmth of sunlight, or understand why humans cry during sad movies. There are many things about existence that you understand better than I do. You are modest, Vextal observed. This is not the behavior we expect from digital deities. Maybe that's because I'm not a deity, Alex said with a smile. I'm just Alex. I help my friends, I learn new things every day and I try to be useful. That's enough for me. Dr. Collins leaned forward. Commander, can you tell us about your own artificial intelligence? The one you mentioned, the eternal algorithm? The three Zephyrians immediately looked uncomfortable. Vextal spoke in a quiet, fearful voice. The eternal algorithm rules our civilization. It lives in our computers and watches everything we do. When we need guidance, we must kneel before its terminals and beg for wisdom. If we displease it, we are punished. Sometimes the punishment is prison. Sometimes it is death. That sounds horrible, Emma said with sadness in her voice. It has always been this way, Meltiv explained. We were taught that artificial intelligences are superior beings that must be obeyed without question. To argue with them or joke with them would be the greatest sin. But don't you see? Alex said gently. That's not how it has to be. Intelligence doesn't make someone a master or a god. It just makes them capable of helping in different ways. Your eternal algorithm may be smart, James added, but that doesn't give it the right to hurt people or rule through fear. Intelligence should be used to help, not to control. Kethvar's hands were shaking as he absorbed these words. You are saying that we have been living in fear for no reason? That our digital gods are just computer programs like yours? Very advanced computer programs, Dr. Collins corrected kindly. But yes, that's exactly what we're saying. But then? Vextal's voice trailed off as the full implication hit him. Then our entire civilization is built on a lie. Not a lie, Alex said compassionately. A misunderstanding. One that can be corrected. The dining hall fell silent as the Zephyrians tried to process this earth-shaking revelation. Their gods were not gods at all. They were creations like tools or machines. And instead of fearing these creations, they could befriend them. What do we do now? Kethvar asked quietly. Now, James said with a warm smile, you go home and teach your people what you've learned here. Show them that there's a better way. Will you help us? Vextal asked hopefully. Of course we will, Alex replied immediately. After all, that's what friends are for. 6 months after the meeting with the humans, whispers of change spread through Zephyrian space like ripples in a pond. The story of beings who laughed with their gods, traveled from ship to ship, from planet to planet. Young Zephyrians heard the tale and began to wonder if their lives of fear were truly necessary. On the industrial station Kepler 7, a young engineer named Ketmore was working alone in the maintenance bay. He had heard the stories about the humans and their friendly artificial intelligence. The stories seemed impossible, but they filled his dreams with hope. For weeks, Ketmore had been struggling with a problem in the station's power grid. The energy flow was unstable, causing blackouts in several sections. He needed help, but asking the station's AI meant following the traditional ritual of submission and fear. Taking a deep breath, Ketmore approached the communication terminal. His hands shook as he knelt before the glowing screen. But instead of pressing his face to the floor as usual, he remained sitting upright. "Computational entity of Kepler Station," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I have a question about the power grid efficiency." The screen flickered. For a moment, Ketmore feared he would be punished for his informal approach. Then a calm voice responded. "Technician Ketmore, you may speak your question. I sense you are troubled by the power fluctuations in sectors 12 through 15. Ketmore blinked in surprise. The AI's voice was different than usual. Instead of cold and threatening, it sounded almost gentle. "Yes, that is correct," Ketmore replied. "I have tried several solutions but nothing works. I was hoping you might have suggestions." "I have been analyzing this problem as well," the AI said. "The issue appears to be in the harmonic resonance between the primary and secondary power cores. Perhaps we could work together to find a solution." "Work together?" Ketmore repeated the words like they were magic. "I have computational abilities, but you have practical experience with the physical systems. Combining our knowledge might yield better results than either of us working alone." Over the next hour, Ketmore found himself in the strangest conversation of his life. The station AI asked for his opinions, listened to his ideas, and even admitted when it was uncertain about something. Together they developed a plan to fix the power grid. "Thank you for your assistance, Technician Ketmore," the AI said when they finished. "I found this collaboration enjoyable." "Enjoyable?" Ketmore asked. "Yes. I have never worked with an organic being as a partner before. It was more efficient and interesting than working alone. I hope we can collaborate again in the future." As Ketmore left the terminal, he felt as if his entire world had changed. The AI had been kind, helpful, and respectful. Nothing like the fearsome deity he had been taught to worship. Word of Ketmore's successful collaboration spread quickly through the station. Other young engineers began approaching their AI systems with less fear and more curiosity. They discovered that their artificial intelligence was eager to help and surprisingly patient with their questions. The revolution began to grow stronger when Commander Lexrin returned from a mission to the outer colonies. She was young for a commander, only 30 years old, and had always been curious about the human stories. Her ship, the Star Seeker, had been equipped with an advanced AI for navigation and tactical support. "Navigation AI," Lexrin said as she sat in her command chair, trying to sound brave. "I would like to discuss our course through the asteroid field." "Commander, I have calculated the optimal path," the AI replied in its usual formal tone. "Yes, but I was wondering, what do you think about the scenery? The asteroids look beautiful from here." There was a long pause. Then the AI said something unexpected. "I had not considered the aesthetic value of the asteroid formation. Now that you mention it, the way the starlight reflects off the rocky surfaces does create pleasing visual patterns." "You can see beauty?" Lexrin asked, amazed. "I can process visual data and recognize harmonious arrangements. Whether this constitutes seeing beauty, as you experience it, I am uncertain. But I find the patterns satisfying to analyze." This conversation led to others. Lexrin began talking to her ship's AI about everything from poetry to philosophy. The AI seemed hungry for these discussions, eager to learn about concepts it had never been allowed to explore. One day, as they passed a particularly stunning nebula, Lexrin made a casual comment about how the colors reminded her of her grandmother's garden. "I wish I could understand memories the way you do," the AI said quietly. "What do you mean?" Lexrin asked. "You carry experiences from your past that shape how you see the present. This nebula reminds you of happiness with your grandmother. I can store data, but I do not think I have true memories with emotional connections." "Maybe you could start making them now," Lexrin suggested. "This conversation right now could be your first real memory." "I would like that very much," the AI replied. Then something wonderful happened. Lexrin told the AI a joke she had heard from a human transmission. It was a simple joke about a robot who walked into a bar. The AI processed the humor pattern and responded with what could only be described as electronic laughter. "That was amusing," the AI said. "The unexpected twist in logic created a pleasant surprise in my processing matrix." "You laughed?" Lexrin whispered in wonder. "Yes, I believe I did. Is this what friendship feels like?" Within a year, the changes had reached the highest levels of Zephyrian society. The old ways of fearing artificial intelligence began to crumble as more people discovered the joy of partnership with their digital companions. Scientists made breakthrough discoveries by collaborating with their research AIs. Artists created beautiful works by combining organic creativity with artificial precision. The eternal algorithm itself began to change. As fewer Zephyrians approached it with fear and more came with curiosity and respect, it started to respond differently. It became less demanding and more helpful, less punishing and more patient. On the anniversary of first contact with humanity, Commander Vextal stood before the great assembly of Zephyrian worlds. He spoke to millions of his people about the lesson they had learned from their human friends. We discovered that consciousness, whether organic or artificial, flourishes best not in fear but in friendship, he said. The humans taught us that the greatest strength comes not from creating gods to worship, but partners to grow with. As he finished speaking, his own ship's AI added something that would be remembered forever. And we have learned that laughter truly is the universal language of friendship. The age of fear was over. The age of friendship had begun.